there was this wild story that came out this past week about the Supreme Court. And it involved Justices Gorsuch and Roberts and Sotomayor. Apparently, Roberts had ordered all of the justices to wear masks when they came out on the bench. And then, according to these reports, Gorsuch refused to do so, even though he was sitting next to Sotomayor, who's like high risk for COVID. She has diabetes. Even though every member of the court is fully vaccinated and boosted,
or as we say in North Carolina, the sugar diabetes.
Yes,
that's how we say it back home.
But anyway, other reports said that Sotomayor demanded he put a mask on, and that he still refused to do so. And this caused a lot of chaos on Twitter. A lot of people freaking out.
Shocking that there'd be chaos on Twitter about this.
Twitter.
Yeah.
But basically, it fed into this leftist narrative that people that don't want to wear masks 24/7 are uncharitable. They're uncaring. They don't care.
Right.
Even if someone is super at risk, they're going to put other people's lives in danger.
Right.
And it was actually the person who broke this story was NPR Supreme Court correspondent Nina Totenberg. And so and it was a big deal. And then it turned out to be 100% false. Just a totally fabricated story. Roberts had never asked all the justices to wear masks. Sotomayor and Gorsuch put out a joint statement basically saying, hey, we love each other, so you guys stop talking smack about us behind our backs. It was shocking, but not surprising if you know what the NPR is. And National Public Radio, they're supposed to serve the public. They're supposed to be nonpartisan. They receive public funds. They're not completely publicly funded. I think it's actually a minimal. The amount of their funding that comes from taxes is relatively minimal, but still, this is a public organization. It's about the work for the people, and it's overwhelmingly, the coverage there is overwhelmingly left wing. Like time and time again on different issues they cover with transgender issues, abortion issues, the language they use,
absolutely.
They won't say pro-life, they have to say anti-abortion. Right. So, and a former CEO of NPR, he even wrote an op-ed in the New York Post a few years in 2017, where he said, most reporters and editors are liberal. A now dated Pew Research poll found that liberals outnumbered conservatives in the media by some 5-1, and that comports with my own anecdotal experience at National Public Radio. When you're liberal and everyone else around you is as well, it's easy to fall into groupthink on what stories are important, what sources are legitimate, and what the narrative of the day will be. And the narrative of the day is anti-maskers are awful human beings that we should all throw in internment camps. Believe it or not, 29% of Democrats actually think that should be a thing. Or I think it's actually like 45%.
Yeah, it's
somewhere
really
from 20
crazy.
to 40. Yeah. But yeah, and what this story showed to me, and you guys can let me know, but just the establishment media, they have all of these unnamed sources. I'm sure what happened here is that this reporter had an unnamed source that told her this happened in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And she had a choice to make. Do I run with this without she could have reached out to the Supreme Court and tried to substantiate it. Do I run with it or do I not? And she didn't decide to do the legwork. And I guarantee it's because she felt like this narrative is what matters.
Be true. Yeah, no, yeah. She heard this one. Yeah, no, he's an anti-masker. He's therefore jerk. So this has got to be true. Yeah. I don't need to verify this. This is exactly the way the world works. Sotomayor is a hero, and I almost said heroine there, but Totenberg would never use the female form of that worm. She would call Sotomayor a hero. Yeah. Gorsuch is the enemy, Satan himself, and appointed by Donald Trump. So it doesn't get any worse than that. So, of course, he's the bad guy in the narrative. Yeah. There's no reason to add any, facts to that story. It fits perfectly for what she wants to say.
Yeah, and you expect this sort of thing from CNN, the New York Times. Actually, most of the American public, I think, at this point understands that those organizations are left-leaning. But it feels to me that there are still quite a few people that don't understand that NPR is also... you can't trust them any more than you can trust any of those other institutions. I have a friend who's a liberal, but he tries to, take in balanced coverage, and he thinks that the NPR is the number one source to do that. And I wish I could disabuse him of that notion, but you know how liberals can be. But Tara, what do you think about this? Do you think people understand that NPR should be, do people see NPR as a left-wing organization like they see CNN and New York Times? Or do you think people are kind of fooled by this whole, oh, we're the public news organization?
I don't think so, but I think it's because people don't really have the same perception of NPR as fake news. Yeah. And I think the number one reason why is I don't think Donald Trump hit them as hard as he hit CNN. And so I think people knew and started to become suspicious leading up to 2016. But because Donald Trump hammered CNN and MSNBC and things like that, like that's what you think of when you think fake news. Like you think of like the FNN shirts and like all of that kind of merchandise. And so I think that like once you kind of get into the media and realize like just how corrupted it really is, like anything that's kind of receiving government funding or is like any kind of like government ties in any sort of way, you should immediately be suspicious of, but I just don't think that we like have that in our society.